So much for that. As the budget approaches, we've been getting you the top voices from India Inc. on their expectations from the Finance Minister. Shireen Bhan spoke to some of the industry voices at the Bombay Stock Exchange, and the bottom line is this. Again, no bad news on tax will be good news. Here's an excerpt.
Dramatic simplification of the income tax processes and the tax rates. Because over the years, let me say over decades, I think a large number of exceptions and exemptions have come through the budget. If frankly, if they could clean them up, put together a simple tax structure, which in my opinion should be loaded more in favor of the small enterprises. In my opinion, that would be a very successful budget if you could simplify it, reduce it, and keep it going.
So specific focus on SMEs, where you believe that the corporate tax rate should be brought down perhaps even lower. But on the whole, as a headline number, do you believe that at least a 1 to 1.5% cut this time around is likely?
Well, you know, I would give it a low chance actually.
You don't even see 1%?
I see that, you know, if I were to ask for it, I would say that the small enterprises, maybe 50 million of them who are really outside of the tax net, we will make a big success of it if you could make a really low tax rate for them, say 2%, 3%, and going up to 20%, maybe 20%. If you give that to the small entrepreneur, it's a big achievement, because I'd say elections around the corner, lots of things happening. Cutting the tax rate for the rich sounds too airy-fairy.
Okay, sounds too airy-fairy, and you might be right. Only let me put that same question to you. And you know, as we just heard there from Vaidya, Ashok Wadhwa, who's our budget guest editor on CNBC TV 18, in his note says he believes it's likely to be an anti-rich budget. Aditya Narayan, also a guest editor on CNBC TV 18, believes that it's likely to be a semi-social budget, or perhaps at least a much more populist budget than we've seen in the previous years under this particular regime. What would your expectation be?
I would go along with the overall popular expectation. I would say it is going to be a proper socialistic budget. I won't call it anti-rich. I don't think there is anything anti-rich going to be. Taking on what Vaidya mentioned about, though the association that we belong to, CII, supposedly spoke about an 18% corporate taxation. I represent a company which had been paying over 30% for the past maybe 1 decade tax. So we don't belong to that particular bracket who do take benefit from the governments. But giving away all the benefits given to people, you need to be incubating newer businesses. We'll have to give some kind of an enticement for people to invest in things like renewables, as you mentioned about. If you want money to flow in, you've got to show some carrots for that. So some amount of tax concessions has to continue. Expectation, if you really ask me, I don't have too much of expectation on all of this count, because the finance minister is under stress in the current year, in my understanding.
Mr. Revankar, specifically as far as the sectors that you deal with are concerned, what is it that you would like to see the finance minister do?
Yes, infrastructure is the one thing which we, not only the rural, even the bigger projects, there are a lot of delays. Delays in execution, implementation, because multiple ministries involved in, there should be a single window. They have to think of, because all the clearance they should be completing, then they should be awarding the projects. Then only we can see the real-term progress in any infrastructure activity.